The Skechers SKX is a really good first attempt at sort of a control and power boot, and the new Electrum Pack colorway, which you have probably seen on the feet of Harry Kane, particularly in this SG model, has a really, really unique feature that I think a lot of you guys are going to really enjoy. Let's jump into the unboxing of the video. So the Skechers football branding you get here on the top in black and silver. Of course, you have the tech specs here on the bottom right-hand corner, which is super nice. So you got the HyperBurstPro, the PSC, and Performance FitKnit, which I'll go over in just a little bit. There is a picture of this Electrum Pack Skechers SKX 1.5 Elite in soft ground. These are a men's 9 and a US women's 10.5, a Euro 42.5, and a UK 8 or a 27 centimeters. Now, if you'll notice, I actually go true to size in the SKX compared to the Razor, which I go up half a size. I'm not really sure what that discrepancy is from. Maybe it's the lasting and the sole plate. I'm not really sure. Could be just a tighter fit in the Razor series, but needless to say, true to size with these ones, which you could find out in the free size guide on my website. So I'll leave a link down below and you guys can get all the different sizing on every single boot I've basically tried that is modern and up to date, totally for free. Just download it through my website, down the link below. Here we go with the unboxing. Yes. All right. White and gold. These are going to probably be the coolest SKX I've ever seen, just because the white and gold, at least on Kane's feet, looks absolutely fabulous. Inside the bag here, you also unzip it and you get a little tool for tightening those screw-in studs. So, which we will talk about in just a second, because there is a very, very unique feature. Wow. Oh my days, guys. Oh, yes. That is very cool. And as I turn the boot, I'm going to pause right here and keep twisting the boot. What is different about this boot compared to the regular SKX? Leave it down in the comment section below. I'm going to pause for a minute and just let you guys decide. What's different? It's probably pretty obvious to most of you, but I will give you the answer now. It is the sole plate, because as you notice, that's what the sole plate on the regular SKX looks like, and that is the Razor sole plate in soft ground, which is the same sole plate we get in the Electrum Pack Razor 1.5. So they've used the same sole plate, and I think it's actually going to be a really good thing. So absolutely beautiful metallic gold. They did use the silver studs that you get on the Razor 1.5 in this Electrum Pack colorway, which actually kind of cool. It's a little bit contrasty. It looks almost black underfoot. This beautiful gold S, actually with SKX, like written inside this Skechers football S. And then of course this crackle kind of branding or colorway, which mirrors some of the older colors as well, which is very cool. That's sort of the design language of the Skechers SKX 1.5. Now these are a beautiful pair of football boots. Let's get the other one out as well. There you go, really nice. And we will get this box out of the way and get on with the review. Now, the SKX came out about 1.5 to 2 years ago now, and I would expect that a new SKX is probably coming in the next, I don't know, let's say 6 months to a year. I would imagine that they're going to update this with some new technology, potentially new sole plate, all of the above. Now, obviously, this is an exception because they've put the Razor sole plate on the SKX, which in my opinion is such a cool idea. So you get all of the really nice, soft, and plush Performance FitKnit upper, very, very similar to a Phantom GT and GT2, but shaped a lot better. So it's all the same really nice stuff, material you got with that GT series from Nike, but obviously with a much more anatomical shape in my opinion, and that leads to a much more comfortable football boot in general. The heel area feels really nice. It's a perforated suede, micro suede. It's not super suede-y, I guess you could say. It's not like the back of a Mizuno boot or a back of an Asics boot, but it is very nice. It follows the same kind of principles as some of the Nike boots as well. And this upper in general, I think, is actually really nice. It's very much it feels like a one-piece upper as opposed to the Razor, which feels a lot more like a really nice and thin midfoot, and then that really beautiful Tasian synthetic forefoot area. So it's a little more kind of multi-material, whereas this is very much just one single piece of knit with this coating, this PSC molding across the upper, which is their Precision Strike Control, or PSC. Now, this is basically just the GT of the SKX, so the generative texture. It's basically just a texturing material that's built into the coating that goes over that one piece knit material, and it doesn't adhere any of the softness of the upper as well, so that's really, really good. And it does provide a little bit of grip. I actually really like this PSC stuff. I think I think this definitely functions a lot better than what generative texture was, just because there's a little bit more of it, and you've got these lines that kind of go along the midfoot and the forefoot area, which create a really nice amount of grip and control when in wet weather conditions, or just when you want to do a little bit more spin on the ball. Now, one of my favorite features of the SKX and the Razor is this HyperBurstPro sockliner. Now, I sort of in my videos have encouraged other brands to start to use stuff like this, because I think there's a lot of benefit to be had when you are cross-pollinating with different sections of your brand. So HyperBurstPro, which is this beautiful material here, so it's like almost like a running shoe foam, is actually the same type of insoles they use in their walking and running shoes. So it's very cushiony, it feels very plush, and it's almost like a memory foam. So you kind of sit into the boots and you really feel kind of cushy. Similar to the Boost material that was in the original Ace series and some of those early laceless control boots from Adidas. And what it does is it just adds that little bit of extra cushion and softness that doesn't really adhere any of the closeness you feel with the ground. Because obviously with an SG boot, it's going to be a pretty soft ground, obviously for SG, it's going to be a soft ground surface. So you're not going to necessarily have too much issues with joints and stuff like that, obviously, unless you're doing pivoting motions. But in terms of the load that goes on your joints on a soft ground pitch, it's a lot lower usually than something on a firm ground pitch or even an AG pitch. Now, I think an AG model is up next for the Skechers brand. I would really like to see them create some sort of AG model. I think particularly for US and European markets, that's going to be really good. But for the Australian market, this soft ground model is absolutely electric in my opinion. It looks amazing. It's definitely the best SKX colorway, just ahead of the Diamond Ice colorway in my opinion. That's just my personal preference because I love the white and the blue combo. This is absolutely beautiful in my opinion. Both this and the Razor are exceptional colorways. I love the fact that they went with the speed boot sole plate. And honestly, in terms of theory and sort of, I guess, thesis around using a single sole plate for the majority of their boots or all their boots, I think there's a couple things to be said here. One is, yes, it saves the company money in terms of development, but if you already have a sole plate that works super, super well for a lot of people and people love this sole plate, why not use it for their boot that is probably a little bit less popular in terms of who's wearing it? Yes, Kane is wearing this one, but the majority of people that I talk to in the comment section and in my DMs on Instagram really are more sort of infatuated with the Razor and the way the Razor fits and feels. So why not add one of the key elements of that Razor to a boot that's maybe a little bit less popular in comparison? Great idea, number one. Number two is one issue that might pop up is actually the sizing, which we'll get to in a little bit on the playtest of this particular football boot. I am curious, because I have to go up half a size in the Razor, is that because of the upper or is that because of the lasting and the sole plate length? It's possible that this will fit just like the normal SKX, and in fact, if we put them upside, like if I put them both on the ground in the back, there you go. As you can see, the difference is almost zero or zero. It is very, very similar. So if I put them, actually, here we go. I'm putting them on the ground, both back to back, and there you go. So you can see, Kelvin, can you zoom in really quick? It's maybe a fraction of a centimeter. If I lift them up together, try to get them in front of my face. There you go. So very, very slightly longer, like a what you would cut off on a fingernail is like how much longer these are. So I think I'll be totally fine. They might take a little bit of extra break-in time just because of they're going to be slightly shorter with this sole plate. But I think I'm very excited to try this because I think the thought of having kind of more of a control boot, single piece knit upper that I really love with the aggression of this traction. Not to say that this one's bad, but this sole plate's kind of like it's just whatever. I don't really care about it all that much, but I actually really like this sole plate. So I think this combo is going to be pretty freaking awesome. So there's one more good look. I'll give it one more twist for you. And then we are going to jump straight onto the pitch for a little bit of a play test, and we'll rip these around maybe in some wet weather conditions, for sure in some FG, and see how this soft ground model performs. And is it suitable for regular FG, or do I recommend, hey, really only play with this on a soft ground pitch? Because gosh, these are stunning. Let's jump into it. All right, fam, welcome out to the pitch. I got the SKX in this absolutely beautiful gold and white pair. Oh my God, these are cool. All right, let's get these on feet. Absolutely gorgeous. So as I mentioned before, this is the Razor sole plate. And I gotta tell you what, I just got done filming the Razor soft ground, and the sole plate is fabulous. Really, really fabulous. So I'm going to test whether or not these actually, let's actually back up a little bit so you guys can see. Is the fit any different with the Razor sole plate? Maybe a little more snug in the midfoot, but not much. The shape is still very SKX-like. So let's see if that changes as we start to wear these. But I love this sole plate. I think the sole plate is super comfortable. It's very grounded feeling, and honestly, it's got a lot more character than the SKX sole plate, and so I'm really happy. Yes, I understand that it's, you know, maybe boring, it saves money, it's whatever, because they're using the same sole plate on both uppers, but I think that this sole plate is freaking awesome. And it's very comfortable, it's very ergonomic. So in my opinion, at least when I'm playing in these, I do feel like my foot kind of sits inside the sole plate as opposed to like on top of it, which is kind of what people said about Vapor 11. And this has a lot more like rock to it compared to the SKX sole plate. The SKX in firm ground feels very, I don't know, it's very hard and stiff, and it feels really muted, and there's just not a lot of personality going on there. Whereas this one feels, oh, that is sweet, man. Okay, I think these might be a freaking, oh yes, I can't wait. Okay, let's get into this. So first impressions are gonna be pretty similar to the Razor, which is that this sole plate feels very good. It's very grounded, it's very balanced. There's 11 mil studs in the front, in the forefoot, and 13 in the back, which is super standard. So yeah, you don't have to, I guess you could exchange them if you're playing on super muddy pitches. The one that I'm playing on today is like kind of, it's not quite soft ground, even though it rained a lot last night. So it's got a little bit of like, it's still pretty soft. And the SKX, I would say in general, you know, again, I think SKX is like a pretty average football boot. It's not the best on the market, and it's also not the worst in this category. The Puma Future Ultimate obviously is the worst by a landslide. This one is pretty good. Now, unfortunately, this one has to compete with the likes of the Predator, the GX2, and maybe a couple other ones, but the feel on the ball, the touch on the ball of the SKX in general is really good because it is one piece. It's just a simple synthetic coating over a knit that's fairly thin as well. So you're gonna get lots of kind of good flex in your toes. You're gonna get a lot of good like structure and stuff, and the heel area feels good as well. If I'm perfectly honest, I think this sole plate suits this upper a lot better than the stock FG sole plate suits this. it's so much more dynamic and it feels so much more like engaging, which is part of the reason why I think a lot of people were really bummed to see the Cyclone 360 sole plate on the GX2, because the GX2 sole plate, the future sole plate, getting through those heavy feet, the GX2 sole plate, the future sole plate, the SKX sole plate, and honestly, even the Predator sole plate, even though the Predator sole plate is probably my favorite out of all of those, they're pretty bland. And I think putting something like this, like a speed boot sole plate, onto the upper of something that's a little bit more less streamlined, more, let's say like generally comfortable and sort of no BS, is a freaking awesome idea, because it makes the package feel comfortable and really just kind of like, yeah, awesome, comfy. But then you start to move and you're like, ooh, this has got something to it. I would say though, similar to my feelings about the Phantom GT Generative Texture series from Nike, which these were very, very much inspired by, and I won't say copied, because they definitely feel a lot better than the GT series, but I would say that for the most part, this is a boot that is pretty, I don't know, like it's fine. It's not my favorite on the market, and it's definitely not, I think, anybody's like all and out favorite boot. However, I do think if this first little bit and the other testing that I've done with the SKX is any indication, this is definitely a boot that's gonna fit a lot of people. I think it's gonna fit wider foot shapes. I think it's gonna fit most people. The GT, on the other hand, when it was around, had a really awkward shape to it, and I don't think was all that great. Whereas these ones, they're very ergonomic. Same with the Razor, actually. And they just feel good. Like, again, there's nothing special about them necessarily, other than having a speed boot sole plate, but like, they're just good. Like, they're just solid football boots. Nothing amazing, just like very, very clean and solid. So then the question becomes, is simplicity a bad thing? Because I think at the end of the day, when you're thinking about the performance of a football boot, at least in my philosophy, really the ones that win are the simple ones. The boots that just have, ooh, came off the wrong part of the foot there. The ones that just have that, they just sort of disappear on your foot. I think that's where, oh, oops. Well, that was very close to going out and into the river, which would not have been good. But yeah, boots that just kind of disappear, right? You want a boot that's just, it's seamless, it just flows with your foot. Once you break it in, it feels good and solid. There's good lockdown, heel feels comfy, and it doesn't give you any issues. That's really what we're looking for in football boots. And if I'm honest, this combination, not the FG model, but this combo is that boot, I'm getting a few little hot spots just on the outside of my foot, which is very standard for, ooh, wow, zero power there, sometimes happens. Definitely happens with most football boots right on the outside of that midfoot. That is the shot that I'm looking for, by the way. Thank you. So what is there to critique about the SKX? Well, I think for most people, they're gonna say, well, it's the same as what the GT was, or it's the same as, you know, a multitude of other knit football boots on the market. But what I think the SKX does, not great necessarily, is actually the thing that this sole plate takes care of. And if this wasn't blatantly obvious, the sole plate of the regular SKX for me, nah, I'm good, thank you. And I think that it deserves this boot, this upper, that's now, in my opinion, quite quality. Like, the knit is really quality. It has a couple things that I would change about it. Maybe I'd fuss around with the heel a little bit. But like, overall, the addition of the Razor SG sole plate on here is a freaking awesome addition. It's really good. It's really good. One thing I think for sure could be said about this boot is that
If you're looking for something that has maybe a little bit of an X factor to it, this is probably not that boot, even with the soft ground sole plate. I think it is really good with the soft ground sole plate, but if you're looking for something that's just got that like, oh, there's just something about it that is interesting. Oh, dang. And, you know, special, like having a little bit of texture on the upper isn't special anymore. Like that's just kind of a normal thing for most boots. Most speed boots even have that now. And in fact, like in terms of grip, I think this is aimed at that person who doesn't, oh, God, that got caught right under my foot. This is what I mean by the surface it's not super soft, so the ball's not like slipping at all, which is what it is. It's just the weather. But yeah, I think if you're looking for some sort of grip element, this is definitely not the boot that you want. And this is the boot that you want if you want a pretty distractionless playing experience with a little bit of extra something when it is kind of wet out. But that's gonna be up to you at the end of the day. All right, getting into some left foot stuff. Lovely. Oh, get out of your feet, boy. Bummer. Gotta push that ball like a little bit further out just so that I can wind up a little bit more. Maybe we'll switch the angle on this a little bit. There we go. Boots feel good. Starting to feel a little bit sore, to be honest. The outside, that midfoot is just taking a little bit longer to break in, which is all right. There we go, that's better. That's what I'm looking for. And so that's just part of the break-in process. Again, it's been a while since I played in a soft ground pair of football boots, and I gotta be honest with you, I really, really think this sole plate shines. I think it's very good. It's aggressive, it feels comfortable, it's really responsive, and it doesn't feel almost like a soft ground sole plate, which is exactly what I'm looking for. I wanna go from my firm ground or my AG surface, feel good, feel grounded, and go straight over to my SG surface and feel the exact same. And this sole plate absolutely achieves that. All right, into some free kicks. Gotta whip these bins, if you know what I mean. So if you're gonna ask me, Noah, what do you prefer, first of all, between the SKX and the Razor? Well, to me, that's a pretty simple one, and I'm gonna say the Razor. I just think the Razor is a little more special. I think it adds a little bit something different to a playing experience, and I think that it's just an overall more interesting football boot to wear. Not to say that the SKX is bad, because it's not. It's actually very good quality. I've had absolutely zero issues with pretty much anything on the SKX. I just don't think I just don't think it does anything amazing, other than maybe comfort and the shape. I think the comfort and the shape is why you buy the SKX. Now, the next question that we're gonna answer in this section and in the crossbar section is, would I pick this over the Predator, the Future, ooh, get in, the GX2, and I'm probably forgetting one or two more, but pretty much all the power and control boots? And the answer is some of those. Crossbar challenge, of course, as always. And the answer is, if I'm gonna wear it, so let's assume just pure enjoyment perspective, what's my favorite control boot? I'm gonna say Predator. But what's the boot that I'm gonna wear in games? The GX2. And then what's the boot that I am happy to slip into? Anytime, and it feel pretty standard, pretty comfortable, SKX. Don't even get me started about the Puma Future, because they suck. All right, guys, wrapping up the review of the SKX in soft ground. To be perfectly honest, I'm not actually sure whether these are gonna be sold worldwide or not, so I don't know if you are a footballer that is in America or in Europe, are you gonna be able to get a soft ground version of these? That I don't know. They may have just done these for the Aussie market, just because we do have quite a bit of soft ground pitches around here. especially at the lower division, like, and anything below like State League 2 is going to be on like usually a grass pitch, unless you're really, really lucky. Now, in terms of feel and comfort and performance, the SKX in this 1.5 generation is honestly a good football boot. Like, there's, as much as I say like, oh, there's nothing special about it, whatever, like, first of all, in this colorway, these are absolutely ridiculous looking. I think they look absolutely sensational, if I'm honest, and they just are hitting the spot for me. The gold sole plate, the white upper, this sort of like lightning crackle in gold looks unbelievable. And as a football boot, like Skechers, what's their tagline? The comfort shoe company, or like the comfort something something. I honestly think they achieve that with this boot. I wish there were some upgrades to it, and I'm hoping that Skechers will hire me to do some consulting. Shameless plug, because I do think there's some things about this boot that I think could be fixed, and I do think that there's some things that you really could add to this boot that would make it pretty sensational, if I'm honest, and be a real contender for a really good control and power boot. I think that starts with the sole plate. I think that having a sole plate like this one on the upper actually makes kind of my point, and that is to say that this boot is objectively very good compared to the normal SKX. Obviously, you're not going to want to wear this sole plate on an AG, or even most of the time a hard FG surface. But these are damn good, guys. And I really think if you're looking for a soft ground football boot and you can't find anything that's sort of your normal, let's say you wear a Vapor and you can't find like the Vapor SG, I would highly recommend trying either the Razor or the SKX. Do I think this needs work? Of course it does, as do pretty much every boot on the market. However, I do think this, with this Razor sole plate, is a really, really good package. And it's like, it feels so much more upgraded than what it technically actually is. They've just slapped a different sole plate on here, but it makes a pretty substantial difference. So I'm impressed. Nice job, Skechers. Unbelievable job on the colorway, obviously. And yeah, so that's gonna wrap up today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll leave a link down below to purchase a pair of SKX if you guys are interested. And as always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.